Hey there world, this is Chris, and we're going to do a quick, hopefully easy install of a new Wolo Bad Boy air horn on my Saturn Sky. Let's take a look. Here's the original horn right here. It's got a single plug on it. This replacement plug, if you look online, you can find it, but I saw it for like $45. That's insane. And it goes into the wiring harness right down here. So I'm probably going to take the sheath off of here and just cut this and put some hardware store style terminals on here to extend the length of the wires just a little bit. All right, so let's do a baseline of the stock horn. Here's a new Wolo Bad Boy horn. Big, pretty hefty compressor on the one side. It's got a little bit of heft to it. There's some metal in there. That's all right. Here's your two main contacts, positive there labeled and negative labeled. It's got a good sturdy metal bracket on the back here. Gonna find a good place to put it. All right, so I think I want to mount this on the passenger side, and I want to put it on this metal bracket right here that kind of holds the fender. And I want to try to put it in as kind of close to as possible to the frame rail there. And I'm not going to be able to get a drill bit in there, so I'm going to have to take the fender liner off to get to that, so I can have some room on the back side to put the drill right about there or so to pop a hole in exactly the right spot. So I'm gonna take off my fancy mud flaps, take off fender liner. And everything's a little easier when the wheel's off. Well, I can't really use two hands and drill, but you get the idea here. All right, now the stock horn is removed. This is tightened down here. There's a good chance I'll have to loosen it up again so I can look at the size of the terminals on the bottom. But anyways, on this wire loom, I'm gonna cut the electrical tape on here and start to unravel the loom down a couple inches so I can cut these wires and then make a new splice to lengthen them to go over to the new horn. All right, I've got some leftover wire that already has a fun little loom on it from a previous headlight installation here. So I've got hardware store style connectors that fits onto the spade connectors here on the bottom of the horn. And one end of those is going to get that. And I've got a little bit of shrink tubing here, just enough of this size to put on the end of this one, and I'm going to use two of these butt splices to go onto the wiring on the car side, and then I've got a really enormous piece of shrink tubing to go around both of those. All right, here's the two leads that are going to go onto the horn, and I've crimped on the butt splices on this end, and I'm going to take it over to the car side. All right, here's the two splices put together. So the green wire being the positive and the black wire obviously being the negative there. Crimped them together. I'm going to push this heat shrink tubing over top of these. I may even have it go over the very end of this wire loom just a tad bit. All right, now I'm gonna go get my little lighter, my little candle lighter. Okay, the horn is installed. Got the wires connected there. Make sure we've got the protectant little sleeve there, because this is a possible rubbing point, but it's not a lot of tension on there, so it should be okay. There's our bolt on the back side. There's enough space, there's nothing else going on back there, so ready to give it a shot. All right, I'm just in my garage and I'm probably gonna scare myself. I already warned my wife that she'll be hearing some honking. But wait, there's a problem. And I didn't discover this until I got in the car and was going to test the horn again after I finished that last segment of video, and it didn't work. And I had a little bit of a freak out because there was no reason why the horn shouldn't be working well at that point. Let's take a look. In the main fuse box inside of the engine bay, there is this number 55 relay for the horn. And I took that out and checked it, and I tested it individually, and the relay still worked. I took the horn off the car and tested it, and it still seemed to work. I tried testing the individual wires. They did not work. At this point, I became very concerned that I might have somehow burned out my body control module. I went in the car and plugged in my ELM 327 unit. This thing to see if I had any diagnostic codes. It would power on, but it wouldn't transmit a signal. That made me very worried. Then I plugged this into one of my other cars and the same thing happened. So I said, maybe this has burned out or gone bad or can't transmit for some reason. And then since the original horn worked, the new horn still worked, hopefully the body control module wasn't bad, I decided to check one more thing and found out that there is another fuse, a fuse inside of the fuse box for the horn. So there was a relay and a fuse right next to it. I hadn't read the full listing of all fuses and components in the fuse box. The listing component number 55, horn relay, and then also there, horn 10 amp fuse. So right next to the horn relay, this 10 amp fuse, and I pulled that out and that was obviously burned out. So a quick search online, because this unit doesn't have any specs printed on it that would help out. A quick search online showed me that this Wolo horn draws 16 amps. So clearly this fuse was burned through, and now I'm going to have to take a separate positive power wire from the fuse box to the relay that came with this unit, and then the horn switch can go into the inputs on the relay for this unit, and then the power wire directly from probably the battery the battery side terminal on the fuse box is what I'm going to run a wire to this, and then a ground wire is just going to go to the chassis. So now that I have to use an alternate wiring method, of course, the instructions right here says using a new horn switch, and it also describes using a 20 amp fuse. So we're going to skip forward a little bit here. I have made a separate wire to go from the relay that was included with the package to the horn, a wire that goes from the horn to the chassis ground. I also have the wire that has a fuse holder that I got from the local auto parts store, and a good length of red wire on it, 16 gauge, that is going to go right from the battery, the fuse terminal on the fuse box. So here's that fuse box terminal, and I have a large ring loop on the end of this wire here, and we're just going to have this wire go up the front fender to the horn area. So here's the relay, and I decided the place that I want to put the relay is on the end of this little stud on the box that holds the hood hinge up there, and I can just mount it on a little bit of an angle, and then I only have a couple inches to have to run a wire from that to the bottom of the horn. Here's my negative ring terminal. I'm going to put it, I took the bolt off already, I'm going to put it right here where there's already some other grounding wires. All right, so everything is all together here. There's our terminal screwed into that, 20 amp fuse. Got some protective loom here. I need to go get some more. You really shouldn't have any exposed wire in your engine bay. You never know what kind of dirt or shrapnel might come in your car. Wire comes up front here. I've got a little bit extra. This is my power from the battery. This is the line that goes from the relay to the horn. You can see the horn negative cable there goes up and is on this little grounding bolt right here. And the cord from the horn itself, the original horn here, goes to the side and the other side. So always read your terminal markings on your relays to make sure you understand which way things go. Okay, and with all that work, another 2 hours and 2 trips to the auto parts store, we are back in business. We've got the horn. It's not going to short out any of our existing cars' electrical wiring, and it's going to sound fantastic as hell. So a little bit of more effort, but hey, had the time. Always want to do that kind of thing right and not cut corners, or you know, there's a possibility I could have tried using a larger fuse in the fuse box, but that's not good. You don't want to, you know, I don't know what kind of small gauge wire is coming out of there, so you don't want to overload what's in your original fuse box. So just doing it right, and it's easy to swap out any other horn in the future if this one ever goes bad or needs replacement. I've got the whole relay there. I'm not worried about any overloading the electrical system. So 3, 2, 1. Whoo, oh yeah. Perfect. Ah, sweet dual tone Italian air horn sound. Nice and loud. I hope it came out in the audio here. Have fun with your Sky, and see you at Autocross.